Satchmo SummerFest Symposium. Since they're there, another big hand for Dan Morgenstern and Daryl Sherman. That was terrifically done. So this is the 17th annual Satchmo SummerFest presented by Chevron. I want to thank our sponsors for the symposium, including the Ella Fitzgerald Charitable Foundation, the Joseph and Inez Eichenbaum Foundation, Stephen Maitland-Lewis and Joni Baird, they're right over there. Give them a big hand. Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities, the Midlow Center at the University of New Orleans, Harrah's New Orleans, Richie and Viggy Norigian over here. Please take a bow. The Fertel Foundation. Randy was here earlier. Oh, he is there. Randy, take a bow. And Bevel Gas and Electric Lights. Are they here? Flicker on and off. Anyway, it is my great pleasure to bring to the stage here Maxine Gordon. She's the director of the Dexter Gordon Society, which is a nonprofit she launched in 2013 to celebrate and maintain the legacy of her late husband, the saxophonist Dexter Gordon. She presented on his relationship with Louis Armstrong here last year. Her book, Dexter Calling, The Life and Music of Dexter Gordon, will be out next year by the University of California Press. And she just let me know that she got a Bjorn Barnheim Fellowship. Bjorn is right here. Give Bjorn a hand. He'll be on stage tomorrow. He donated some money for research fellowships through the Hogan Jazz Archive at Tulane, and she is going to research as part of a larger project about Louis Armstrong in Africa. She is researching Louis Armstrong as King of the Zulus. It is my great pleasure to bring you Maxine Gordon.
Thank you. Can you hear me? I'm loud, so can you hear me? Okay, fine. Of course, I have to begin, or want to begin, by thanking Fred Caston for inviting me back to Satchmo Fest, and Sabrina for, well, I haven't seen her, but her great work and the way she remains calm amid chaos. I'd also like to thank Catherine Russell and Paul Kahn for sharing photos from the Catherine Russell Archive with me. I thank Jess Pinkham, who has been my research assistant since I first discovered her unmatched talents when she was Bob O'Mealy's student at Columbia University. I thank Bruce Rayburn, who insisted I write a proposal to Satchmo Fest while we were sitting in a restaurant in Napa. He was right about coming to New Orleans as often as possible, and I'm grateful for his friendship. My work is nothing without the brilliant mind and eye of Candace Fletcher Pacheco. She sees things that I often miss and has a way of putting everything into perspective. None of us who do this work can ever do it alone. So everything I do, I send to Candace, and then she tears it apart, and I try to put it back together. Before I begin talking about Velma, who I fell like mad in love with Velma, a couple things happened yesterday. One was in Catherine Russell's brilliant talk yesterday about Louis Armstrong. She said several times about his acting ability and what if he had had the opportunity to be in film and be an actor. And so I was reminded about Dexter Gordon when he was nominated for an Oscar, which he thought he would win. He prepared his acceptance speech, and in that speech he only thanked one person, and that was Louis Armstrong. And he was going to sing. I was going to sing, you know, "Oh, What a Wonderful World," and thank him because he said if it wasn't for Louis Armstrong, there wouldn't be a jazz musician. I wouldn't be here. And he said, and what he said was, imagine if he'd had the opportunity I had, right? So then she echoed that we never had that conversation, and then she said it yesterday. So that was really great. And then, and thinking about him as an actor, I wanted to mention that. And the other thing I wanted to mention was my son is named Woody Louis Armstrong Shaw III, and which is a big name. And when he was a baby, I used to say, you know, that's a big name for a baby. And so his grandfather said, he'll grow into it. And he's been all over the world. You know, he studied, you don't know. He studied in Hanoi, India, everywhere. And on his passport is this full name. And wherever he went, people would look at the name, they'd say, oh, Louis Armstrong, you know. And so we're connected in several meaningful ways. So, as many of you were here last year, you may remember that I gave a talk on Dexter Gordon with Louis Armstrong's band in 1944. When I looked at the photo of the band with Dexter from Kelly Field in Texas, I saw the girl singer, and that was it. Who was she? Most of you knew it was Velma Middleton in 1944, but I am new to Louis Armstrong research. I wanted to know more about her. When I first discovered Velma Middleton by going online and watching her performances with Louis Armstrong, I was totally entranced. And then I made the first of several trips to Queens to begin my research for everything I could find out about her. We all know that Ricky Riccardi is the person we want to be when we grow up. But, but my experience with him concerning Velma was beyond remarkable. He let me listen to the priceless Louis Armstrong home tapes and tapes of Velma reading Pop's mail and her family singing for Pops. I began to realize that this relationship was something so special, so beautiful, that I wanted to know more about it. Slide 2. Oh, this is Andy. I mean, this is my partner here. Thank you so much. So that's the photo that I saw. There's Dexter Gordon on the end with the big feet. And, you know, I looked at that photo and I magnified the photo and I looked at the soldiers and thought about it, and I looked at Velma's shoes and I thought, wow, you know, what must it have been like for her to travel with that band? And, you know, what is she thinking and who is she? So here's what I know. I knew that she, in 1944, that's where she was, at Kelly Field in Texas. And then I saw her obituary. She died in 1961 on tour with the All-Stars in the Republic of Sierra Leone in West Africa. Then I saw her first film appearance in 1942 with the Louis Armstrong Orchestra. The more I learned about Velma, the more I needed to know. And so I have begun my research on her life. I will share some of what I know, and it's just the beginning. I plan to continue working on her life and have an idea to publish her work. And here's the first recorded appearance with Louis Armstrong, singing with George Washington from April 20th, 1942. Right, Ricky? Okay. Velma joined the band in March 1942. Check her shoes. Do we want to make it darker, or maybe not?
Now get it. Yes, go on and get it, 'cause I'd like to see you hit it. Now hit it.
Ba-doo-da-la-la-doo-day. Don't tell me, George, I know that again.
Solid swinging away,
Swinging on nothing,
swinging I say,
swinging on nothing,
just swinging for pay.
swinging on nothing,
Lord.
Yeah, Velma. Yeah, honey. Okay, did you check the shoes? Velma Middleton was born on September 1st in Holdenville, Oklahoma. Her father's name was Lawrence, her mother's name was Blanche. Holdenville traces its origin to a Creek settlement called Echo, which means deer in English. The population of Holdenville in 2010 was 5,771. It grew. Obviously, further research is needed to know where the family came from originally and how they arrived in Holdenville, but that work is for the future. I have 2 slides from Holdenville, so this is what I could find, but the road, it's a dirt road. It's a dirt road. By 1933, Velma was living in St. Louis, Missouri at 2902A Laclede Avenue and listed as a musician in the city directory. In 1933, Velma would have been either 16 or 18 years old, depending on several factors. It would appear that Velma was born in 1915, but at some point she changed her birth year to 1917. Ricky Riccardi and I plan to celebrate 2017 as her centennial at a listening party at Jazz at Lincoln Center in New York on October 3rd. I hope many of you who are in the area will join us because we believe Velma deserves a party, and we plan to give her one. Cake will be served. I wanted to serve cake today, but they don't let us bring food in here, so you have to come to New York. It seems as if it is not uncommon for women to change their ages to be younger, or at least at that time. The reasons could be discussed at length, but we'll let Velma do as Velma wishes. There is evidence of her working as a singer and dancer in major venues in the 30s. As early as 1931, she's mentioned in the Chicago Defender as performing with Billy Pearson and his Black and Tan Company in Cincinnati. She would have been 16 years old. She performed at the Apollo in 1933 and at the Ubangi Club in 1935. On October 12th, 1935, that's my son's birthday, the Chicago Defender ran an article that read, quote, "Because of her outstanding performances in the Ubangi Club Follies since its opening 7 weeks ago, Velma Middleton, the portly hotcha singer, has been held over for another 6 weeks. 2 weeks ago, Miss Middleton pulled a fast one on her friends in the theatrical colony by marrying Avery Parrish, the young pianist in the Bama State Collegians Band. He gave his age as 22, and Miss Middleton said she was 20 summers young. I don't know exactly what I will do after these next 6 weeks," she told the press representatives here Sunday, "but I will probably keep active until Mr. Parrish returns from his tour with the Collegians." So the next 4 slides. So these are newspaper ads that show when she was working, who she was working with, and because we know quite a lot about her from 1942 when she joins Louis Armstrong, but I wanted to see where she was and what she was doing before, and so we know. So this is Avery Parish. So what we know about James Avery Parish, probably some of you know much more than I do. He's listed as being born January 24th, 1917. I'm sure Dan knows all about him. And he died on December 10th, 1959. He was the pianist, composer, and arranger, born in Birmingham, Alabama, who's best remembered for his composition After Hours, composed for Erskine Hawkins in 1940. Injuries from a bar fight in 1943 ended his career as a pianist. There's another age discrepancy here. If Avery Parish was born in 1917, he would have been 18 when he and Velma married in 1935, but we know these dates need further research. By 1945, Velma listed herself as single on her visa to Brazil. In March 1942, Velma joined Louis Armstrong's band. Did you know about Avery Parish, Ricky? You knew she was supposed to be married to Avery Parish? Yeah. And the other one, no, they don't know that yet. Okay. The March 1942, Velma joined Louis Armstrong's band. In October, Louis Armstrong and Lucille Buchanan Wilson were married at the Middleton home in St. Louis. Next, there's the wedding picture. Nice, right? Her biography from Joe Glazer's Associated Booking Corporation reads, quote, Velma Middleton burst into this world in St. Louis, Missouri, just 24 years ago. Wrong birthplace, wrong date. Decided at the age of 6 she wanted to embrace the footlight profession and was encouraged by her parents, who discovered that it was a losing fight to try and argue Velma out of anything. Started her professional career after a series of amateur theatricals with Blanche Calloway. Then followed engagements with Erskine Hawkins, Jimmy Lunsford, and other top-notch attractions. Velma served her apprenticeship on the road and made her debut in New York City at the Kit Kat Club just 4 years ago. She remained there by popular demand for 2 years, after which she played some of the most important spots in the East. Wow. Okay, Velma. Quote, Velma says she tips the scale at 205, and nobody argues with her. Dances like a lightweight and knows all the rudiments of dancing, having studied in St. Louis under the finest teachers. She is a contradiction to her own profession because she is a devotee of the classics and never misses a symphony concert when she can help it. Well, this does not make her what did they call her? They said she's a contradiction. Many jazz artists listen to Western classical music and attend the opera and the symphony, so, that's wrong. Hobbies consist of swimming, dancing, and bicycling, and many New York mornings find her in Central Park on her wheel. Velma says her pet aversions are cooking and household duties, but thinks she might change her mind someday. We think she will too. That's her official biography, right? When we look at the flight manifestos and itineraries for the band, and then the All-Stars beginning in 1947, it's staggering. They literally went around the world every year, nonstop travel and performances with hardly a day off between gigs. As a former road manager who thought 6 weeks of one-nighters was tough, I am humbled by the working schedule for Louis Armstrong and his musicians. Next two. This is her visa to Brazil in 1945. So this is where we find out her parents' names, that she was single, and that she is born in 1915. Oh, weather alert? Oh, just flooding? Okay, Okay. Keep going? Okay, Jenny, there's my girlfriend. Okay. So, we won't worry. Okay. So, when they traveled by airplane, there are these manifestos from list the band, list the flight and everything. Did I get that from you, Ricky? That comes from you, I think. Doesn't look familiar? Isn't that great? Yeah, I know. We love this. So we did 11 and 12. By 1949, Velma was living at 554 West 148th Street in Hamilton Heights, West Harlem. So I have the house. There's the house. Isn't that great? That's where she lived. By 1949. Okay. Keep going.
It's a flash flood alert, and we can't go anywhere, therefore.
Oh, well, okay, here we are. At least we're together. You know the building? Deirdre, you know the building? It is still there. That's a new picture. Okay, now, check out Velma singing That's My Desire in 1950. Look at that smile, those hands, that voice, the two of them together, nothing like it. Slide 14.
Gentlemen, I dedicate this next number to Jackie Formaine and his pretty little fiancée, Mary, Dr. Crone, and Dr. Gottlieb. I will bring our vocalist, Velma Middleton, out to jump a good one called That's My Desire. Come here, baby.
Just like Aretha.
To spend one night with you in our old rendezvous and reminisce with you. That's my desire. To me, where gypsies play down in that dim cafe and dance till break of day. That's my desire. We'll sip a little glass of wine. I'll gaze into your eyes divine. I'll feel the touch of your lips pressing on mine. To hear you whisper love just when it's time to go.
I'm ready to go right now, baby.
Darling, I love you so.
Oh, yeah.
That's my desire.
Thank you, girl. To spend one night with you in our old rendezvous and reminisce with you. That's my desire.
Mine too.
Mine too. To meet where gypsies play down in that dim cafe. That's my desire. We'll sip a little glass of wine.
A little muscatel.
Yeah. I'll gaze into your eyes divine. I'll feel the touch of your chops wrapped up amongst mine. Do you hear you whisper love? Doggone, it's time to go. Darling, I love you so.
You found someone new.
Baba, that those Baba Hoopers.
I'll always love you.
Baba said, no, yes. That's my desire.
Love that. You see how, I'm sure you saw what she does this, her own like imitation of him? Yes, the two of them. Oh my God, okay. Okay, on May 8th, 1952, Velma was on the cover of Jet magazine. The caption reads, "Famous Fat Women." Velma Middleton, her 205 pounds don't stop her from great dancing and singing. So, I was going to make the whole talk about that. I got so angry. I was like, wait a minute. Is there anything else we could say about her? Why in 1952, I got carried away. So I want to think about it. So I went to my friend and the person my conscience, Candace Fletcher Pacheco, and she wrote some thoughts on Velma's overrepresentation as a fat woman. So I'm going to read, and it's not long, what she said, because it's much kinder than what I would have said. So she says, boisterous and entertaining, Velma Middleton's large body made her an accessible delight of a woman with personality and mass appeal. Her accessibility as a fat woman and how she was characterized as being jolly, warm, inviting, pleasant, and affable, if somewhat vulgar or inelegant to a certain class of critic, all factor heavily, pun intended, in what memories remain of her legacy. She was described as big and saucy, as comedic as she was entertaining, though was rarely celebrated for her talent. Forget Middleton as Satchmo's flawless counterpart. Forget her sharp wit, pitch-perfect timing, her infectious smile and booming voice, and how she commanded space on stage as a treasured and central member of Armstrong's band. In Jet magazine, May 8, 1952, Famous Fat Women, pondering the role of weight in a black woman's rise to fame, several pages are dedicated to uncovering whether or not there is an asset to being a woman of size in the musical and film industries, from Middleton to Hattie McDaniel, the Peters sisters, and Mahalia Jackson. The article attempts to draw a loose correlation between size, stage presence, and relative box office success. The bigger the woman, the bigger the spotlight, the article attempts to demonstrate. In truth, the bigger the black woman, the less likely she would be to alienate white ticket buyers. As one New York producer speaks to this phenomena in the Jet article, quote, "We reduce our headaches from the South when we give them the types of Negro women they want to see. Strange as it may seem, it's far more difficult to sell a pretty, slim, colored girl to the movies than it is to get a big, fat one before the cameras." What a paradox that her consistent over-representation as being larger than life has contributed to grievously to her reduction as a footnote in jazz history. So, that topic is one that could be, our topic of discussion, which, you know, we might do that in another time in another place. But for now, I just wanted to insert it because, well, we can talk about it later. We can move on. We can move on to 1954. In 1950, so this was 52. In 54, Baby It's Cold Outside and That's My Desire were released on Brunswick. Right, Ricky? Okay. So the reason I'm not talking about the classic Baby It's Cold Outside duet is because the Authority, Ricky Riccardi, will play it and discuss it, and also it, you know, it brings up a lot of other issues because then there's a comparison to Betty Carter and Ray Charles, Baby It's Cold Outside, and there's been stuff on the internet about the song, did you know? And, you know, I'm handing it to Ricky, okay? I just want you to know that's why we're not playing that right now. So on June 12th, 1956, the Afro-American ran an article from Adelaide, Australia, announcing that Velma was to marry British envoy Robin Cornell. Cornell, who lives in Sydney, and said he would soon be going to California where he and his bride-to-be would make plans for the wedding. Paralyzed from the waist down, Cornell moves about with crutches. He's now engaged in work for the rehabilitation of the disabled. He said he met Miss Middleton in Sydney several weeks ago. He said they found a common ground in the work he is doing for the disabled. Quote, I love her and I hope our marriage will help break down the shocking fear and hate existing between the blacks and the whites. Robin Cornell commented, this is the only mention of Robin Cornell and Velma I've been able to find. More research is needed. So this he did. Ricky didn't know about this. Yay! I found something. But very interesting, right? Because he never comes up again. No. So, okay. So that was in, what year is this? 56. Then in 57, Dan Morgenstern and Ricky Riccardi have both written about the debacle at the Newport Jazz Festival in 57, when George Wein suggested replacing Velma with Ella Fitzgerald. But on a private home tape, Louis Armstrong says it all, quote, you know she's right there with us. There ain't gonna be no damn All-Stars without her. I made that very clear to Glazer. He looked at me like I'm nuts, but I said, listen, man, shit, we're on these tours 8 months out of the year, and you're sitting in the office counting money. No, but we work our asses off, and you can't split that. You put all the stars with us that you want. Just let them stand out there and sing. We'll play for them, but Velma's one of us. So, in the these tapes in the archive, unbelievable. How many hours? 750 tapes. So when I went to Queens, and Ricky brought out the tapes and put them on for me, and Velma's talking, she's singing, so great. You learn so much about her and them. And when I heard him say that, I was like, well, I guess that settles that point, right? So now, can we go to slide 18 and St. Louis Blues, 1959 in Stuttgart? Oh, there it is. That's it. Yeah. Thanks.
Tribute to W.C. Henry's St. Louis Blues, sung by our vocalist, Velma Middleton.
Sun go down. Say I hate to see that evening sun go down. Said makes me feel like I'm on my last go round. If like I feel today. Yes, feeling tomorrow like I feel today. Gonna pack my trunk, make my getaway. St. Louis woman wears her diamond ring. She pulls her man around by her apron string. If it wasn't for powder, store-bought hair, that man that I love, he wouldn't have gone nowhere, nowhere. I love my man like a schoolboy love his pie. Louis Armstrong blows so nice that I'm gonna love that man until the day I die.
Yes, I went to the gypsy to get my fortune told. I went to the gypsy to get my fortune told. And the gypsy told me about my jelly roll. Yes. Yes, the gypsy had fortunes all over the place. Yeah, the gypsy had fortunes all over the place. But when she looked into my hand, she slapped me right in the face.
So fine, ain't good looking, baby, I ain't built so fine. But all the boys like me, ooh, I take my time.
I'm gonna grab me a picket from somebody's fence.
Wait now.
Yeah, snatch me a picket from somebody's fence.
Don't go berserk now, baby.
I'm gonna whip your head, tell you learn some sense.
I done learned that.
I'm watching Ricky watch it. So love that band. Don't you love that band? That performance. Thank you for letting me show that one from Stuttgart. Okay. So Stuttgart. Okay. Next we have, I know the time. Next we have some photos from the Armstrong Archive. And this is one of my favorites. That's not from the archive. This is from Hull, Canada. And it could be, I'm not sure, from 1951, when the band was staying at the Standish Hotel where they lived and performed, and where bassist Dale Jones jumped from a storehouse roof to escape the fire that destroyed the hotel. The band consisted of Jack Teagarden, Barney Bigard, Earl Hines, Dale Jones, Cozy Cole, and Velma, right? You think that is from the same? Love that. Because, you know, they lived in the hotel, they worked in the hotel, and then, you know, they had the kitchen, and just love her. Okay, so we have 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 20. So here's just some of my favorite. I love that. She's off the floor. I mean, she's, you know, jumping in the air here. Okay, yeah. Love the shoes. Okay. So, and this photo, we probably, a lot of you seen the video from the Gold Coast, from the African Tour 56. There's a video, but this is just a photo from it. Okay, there's Velma. Next. I love her clothes. Love that dress. I think that's from Stuttgart. Isn't that the same dress? Maybe, maybe not. Okay. Okay. Now, okay, this gets serious here. In October 1960, the All-Stars began a 3-month tour of Africa. The tour included 27 cities. In the middle of the tour, the band went to Paris for 5 weeks, where Pops made the film Paris Blues. So that fits right into Deirdre, to the collages in the middle of the tour. The band went and they got a break. Then on January 7th, 61, the All-Stars resumed the African tour with concerts booked in Senegal, Mali, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Sudan, and the United Arab Republic. On June 25th, 1961, Velma had a stroke in Freetown, Sierra Leone, and was taken to Hill Hospital. Louis Armstrong wrote to Joe Glazer on his Satchmo and Africa stationery. And this was the stationery he took on the tour. And, you know, well, we could talk about the handwriting and all that. And he says, "Dear Mr. Glazer, what you say, Daddy, there's no use in me telling you Velma's sick, and sick as hell. But there isn't anything that anybody can do but see that she has the best attention and care that one needs when they're sick as hell. She's got a stroke that's a bitch. Mr. Glazer, I never in my whole life seen anyone with a stroke like Velma's. She has a stroke all the way down her whole right side. Even her eye is paralyzed. Ain't that something? What she needs now is to be taken from that small hospital from Freetown, Africa, and brought to America, put into hospital right away where they may save her life, because she is in a bad condition. Pray to the Lord that she won't have another stroke before she can get a chance to at least see the good old American soils again." And then the next slide. Okay, on February 10th, 1961, Velma died in Freetown, Sierra Leone. Her funeral was held at her church, Convent Avenue Baptist Church on 145th Street and Convent Avenue, on February 21, 1961 at 12 noon. Over 500 people attended the funeral. The program refers to her as Velma Middleton Parrish and says she is survived by a mother, father, son, Manny, brother, and many relatives to whom, along with a host of friends, her pleasant personality and constant laughter will always be one of their most treasured remembrances. At her death, Velma had a home at 2194 Cedar Avenue in the Bronx. That's the house. She's buried in Kensico Cemetery, Valhalla, New York. In a June 61 article in Sepia, Velma is quoted, quote, Music is the one thing that can erase a few troubles and put a smile on people's faces. Besides, folks frown too much, and music makes this old world a little happier. End quote. They say all God's children got wings, but not all of them are allowed to fly. And, quote, I always wanted to be a singer. I just wanted, I guess, to be recognized for doing something. I didn't mean to be better than anyone else. I simply want to do something good, leave something on this earth to be remembered by. And then, next slide. So let's let Velma have the last word. Thank you, Velma. And I'm going to end. Is there time for questions and comments? Did I leave it? Is it short enough? Did I leave time?
Well, actually, we're going to have to end it here if you're done.
No, I'm not done. Velma's.
Okay.
One more thing.
Okay. We are not going to have time for questions.
Oh, did
Yeah.
I go over?
No. It's there's. I'll explain
Okay.
when you finish.
Well, I'm almost finished. Okay, play Velma. She has the last
So
word.
with that little news in through Satchmo's mail and his write-ups, I'm going to sign off now, and your commentator has been Velma Middleton, a vocalist with Louis Armstrong, and it certainly is a pleasure being able to read these fine write-ups for Pops on Tape, because I don't think anyone deserves them no more than he. He's really a fine guy. Of course, I don't want to go into my long story about how I feel about him. Like once some guy wanted to write a story on Louis, so they were asking different little things about Louis and about his personality and whatnot. So they called me in and asked me my opinion about Louis. I said, oh, listen, man, I said, I just think he's the finest guy in the world. I said, he's good to everybody and he's kind at all times. I said, so, you know, I'll probably tell you just about what everybody else is going to tell you, that he's one of the grandest guys I know. So you have to get other information someplace else. So this fellow, he said, oh, well, I realize that Louis is a fine guy. He's nice. Max Gisson writes for the Time magazine, and he was trying to pick up different data on Louis. So I'm going to sign off now. Au revoir. Oui, oui. Très bon. Bye now.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Maxine Gordon. So, here's the deal. This is a sealed room. It was really bad outside. And there's been some street flooding around and on the ground and around the ground. So in the interest of safety, we're going to have to stop for today. Sadly, Ricky's movie tonight is also canceled, but we'll be back at 11:30 tomorrow. So I'm going to have to ask you to leave the building. You have to do it in a very orderly fashion, but you have until 5. But if you're locked in, maybe you could play Pops' trumpet early, first cornet or something. Yes, I will answer any questions, yes. Well, not he'll have his films at 4:30. This is, I believe you filed this under the Act of God clause in the contract. Yes.
Thank you, sweetie.
Yes.
It's such a pleasure working with you again.
Yeah, you should be able to.
So,
Let me get this back over here.
So everyone, thank you, and another big hand for Maxine Gordon.